Good morning, Seller Sessions. Danny McMillan in the house, Izabela Hamilton here. I'm so excited to invite you all to join us for our 900 episode. Let's go, Danny.
How are we doing? So, 900 episodes. How
You
many
can
of
see I'm
you,
pumped up this morning. You can see I'm fired up.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fired up.
all fired up? You know what, though? It's quite interesting is that because today we're going to talk about consistency. And I never planned this where was it? The beginning of January 2017. I didn't go, yeah, let's like kind of go for 900 episodes. That wasn't didn't even think about it. It just, like one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, and it went where it went, and it is what it is. So, how many shows have you done now? Because in November, I think it's 2 years for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was thinking, I would say I should have counted. I thought about it. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
You're close. You're going to be close. If there's 52 weeks in a year, let's just say you
Yeah.
may have missed one show a year. We're halfway through this year. By November, you're going to be done 100 shows, aren't you? So,
I think so.
I don't know. We've done 75, 80, depends. Yeah.
Oh, there's Sharon.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you
Sharon.
you need to be congratulated as well, Sharon, because you've put the work in as well. You've been here over a year now as well on a Thursday. So we're just speaking to Izabela to ask how many shows she's done. Drop in the comments there, Sharon. How many have you done? Do you know off the top of your head? It's quite a lot. So big contribution from both you guys to get us to 900. So let's talk about some content now. We've patted each other on the back, and yeah, it's great, but we haven't hit 1,000 yet or 2,000. So there's still work to be done. If the listeners will, of course, have us. Just I was making some notes about the whole thing with consistency. So I kind of wrote out some bits, and we can chop this down. So when we think about consistency, whilst being consistent, it forms a habit that can be locked in. A lot of people discuss that whole 21-day rule, and then after that, it starts to become easier. And obviously, with consistency, it's a form of commitment. Again, that could be done and chunked down into small increments. You haven't got a like with the podcast or whatever you do is like you don't have to go right. I've got to get to 900 shows. What you got to do is get to next week, right? You just need to know that next week you'll be here, the week after, whatever you plan to do on a consistent basis, right? Part of that you're going to need patience, right? So when you start at anything, like I've always said to you, first 100 episodes, I'm totally embarrassed of seller sessions. From me, because it's like, oh my god, it's so bad. So again, you're going to be shit at something, and then you're going to have some setbacks, and you get better over time. The other thing is discipline. So discipline as part of the consistency thing, because obviously motivation evaporates after a period of time. You do discipline is the thing that you do when you don't feel like doing it, and then from the discipline as well and the consistency, you lay down behavioral changes, right? So then that consistency and that discipline will then breed into other areas in your life in a positive sense. Over a long period of time, as you improve competence, yeah, so you reach a point of competence, you look at your feedback loop of improvement, so you're improving over a timeline. With that in them competence and improvement, that's going to lead to some momentum, right? You get excited and you want to do it more. So there goes the less reliance on your discipline to maintain that consistency. But I always say to people, if you can improve 1% every day, that's 365% a year, right? And then obviously consistency from that leads to a compounding effect. But you can't be consistent at everything. So it's better to be consistent at stuff that you enjoy. I mean, I'll tell you what I'm really consistent at. I'm consistent at looking at this fucking phone that I should put down, and that's a bad habit. So we have consistency of what are bad things that we do, and I know this is a problem. It's a big problem for me. And then there's consistency where you have your non-negotiables that are key, that they're going to be make it easier to you to stay disciplined at. And also, which can help with that is once you make it a non-negotiable, or you make it public, or you hold yourself accountable via others. So they're the kind of things I want to talk today about. There's a lot there to kind of unpack, but the thing is we don't just say, right, we want to be consistent. You have to work out, how do you become consistent. And I think I wrote this in the show notes. It's like you're going to be more consistent at something that you love and enjoy versus someone who has to do it and has to be consistent. They're never going to be as good as you at it. You'll never be world class at something. I'm not saying we're world class at this, but you'll never be world class at something. You'll never be good at something unless you enjoy it and have a passion for it. Because once the motivation goes away, you can still be passionate about something, but you could feel like not doing something. And that's where the discipline has to take over, because we still have to show up every week and people have to show up to their jobs. You're a mother, Sharon's a mother, right? There isn't a choice for you to not to be consistent as mothers, right? You made a commitment by having a child, right? So even though that is form of consistency as well, that's a non-negotiable. You can't, or you end up being a bad mum. Not that you are, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's either you are consistent on that non-negotiable, you committed to have a child, so you have to be consistent every day. But then there's other areas of life where in business, that's a variable to be consistent at. You choose, if you own your own business, you choose to turn up every day or you don't, right? If you take a few days off of work, cool, that's fine. It's look, it probably won't set on fire and it's there. But you can't take time off as a mother. That's a non-negotiable. So I think with people is that you can't be consistent at everything. So you have to put your energy into things that are right, that you feel that over a period of time it warrants being consistent. Anyway, I've chatted loads. I want you to pick that apart, Izabela, and give me your thoughts.
I think you said it all. Thank you guys. This was a great episode. Adios. Danny said it all.
Yeah, all done. 8 minutes. We're gone. Everyone can go on and run their business. But
I think it's everything is true what you said. So consistency is definitely what brings us to the point of success. So and I think you touched on a very important point, which I was going to mention actually in this episode, is picking and choosing the things that you actually love doing, because those are the ones that you're going to show up over and over again. Because what happens is every time somebody starts a business, whether it's an Amazon business or this new NFT space, anything that it is, a lot of people, and I'm not saying most, because it's impossible to know what everybody thinks, but most people would say, well, what is the one area that would make me the most money? Instead of saying, what's one area that's going to make me so happy, because that's what's going to make me wake up every morning, whether I'm tired, whether I'm sick, and actually ready to grind. If it's something that you just chose for money, you're not going to show up, because you're going to say, I'm just going to do it tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. This is why we see a lot of people in companies drop off. They don't have the patience to be consistent because they're not interested in what they're doing. They're just interested in that thing. Like, oh, I see my friend doing really well on Amazon. He's always taking vacation. I can do the same thing. Instead of actually searching for what you love and what you're passionate about, or you might not even know what you love, but at least get in and try and say, do I feel like waking up every single day for this? You remember when I first had my episode on sellers, my first episode, and the reviews weren't that great, and I had a choice in that moment. Do I go back and just not do it again, or do I make myself get up every day and get myself better and better and better? And that is a choice that we do. Trust me, there are times, like last night, I got in from New York at 1:30 a.m. I woke up at 6 today to be ready for the show and get my kid ready. So if this wasn't something that I was interested in, again, you might not always have the drive and the passion, but at least you are consistent. Like for me, waking up every Monday to do seller sessions is a commitment that I made to myself and to the show and to the listeners, that I will show up. I think the only time I missed was when I had COVID, that I was really, really sick. I've done podcasts from Miami, going from
the club.
I was going to say establishment, from the club, getting, refresh and showing up. But again, if it wasn't something that was aligned with where I'm going, I would have been like, I'll just hit up Danny and maybe he can cover for me or share. So that's super important. Picking something that you like, because what I noticed that when you do something that you love, somehow it always works out. Sometimes the universe comes back and you will make money if that is your main goal.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so much. There's so much right now. Like you can literally do anything. We are living in a technology world where you have access to all the information that our ancestors never had, right? Like you can literally teach yourself to sell on Amazon with free resources, with all the people that we know. You can learn pretty much about anything. I mean, minus a few areas, like being a surgeon, but most of the things, most of the entrepreneurial things that we do, I believe can be learned if you have the passion to and patience.
yeah, definitely. And I think over the long term, if you think long term, it is nine times out of ten you look anywhere, it's those who were consistent, through the good and the bad times as well. Because some people, it's like dieting, right? They go, right, I want to lose a load of weight before they go on holiday, and then they gain it all back after because they didn't change their lifestyle because they wasn't consistent with it. They just wanted to get ready for those dates and then move on after. And it can be the same thing as people cycle through different business ideas as well. And let's be honest, when we talk about consistency, it's boring as well, right? When you think about, oh yeah, I've got to do that every day, every day, every day, every day, it can drive you mad as well. But I think that's what separates you from, say, 97% of the population, because they won't be consistent. It's their mindset. It's the same that the 97% of the population are employed by the other 3%, which is the entrepreneurs, business owners, and everything else. It's about doing the things that others not willing to do. But then once you get into that 3%, which is the entrepreneurs, business owners, and everything else, then you're in friendly competition with your peers and fellow business people. And who wins the battles on those if they are designed as battles? Some people want to go to war, some people take inspiration from everyone else. But it's that consistency. It's the people that are consistent over time. Because you've seen it where people will pull ahead, like they'll start off slow and they'll sneak up on everyone and they surprise everyone because they went about their business quietly. But they've done it year after year. They keep building compound. And then what happens is that people will take their eye off the ball, then go, how the hell am I going to catch up? Because they wasn't consistent. So they just keep going and going and going. And then that will obviously have a psychological effect on those that fell behind who were in front, because their goal was always motivation, steam ahead, right? Get a load of stuff done, then take their foot off the gas, which in most things you can't take your foot off the gas. You have to be consistent day in, day out, because there's always someone willing to take your place. And it goes back to the saying, success is only rented, it's never owned. And the rent is due every day. And it's true. The burden performance is on you every single day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, again, they want to compete with others, but it's really not about competition. Like the way I look at it is there is enough room for everyone. And again, those who are consistent in the end are going to win. So what I noticed a lot in our industry, at least for the past year since the NFT space came in, a lot of people that were doing like Amazon completely renounced it and they said I am now doing crypto or whatever. You see, that's not consistent to me, because that shows me that you're willing to drop it for the next shiny object. And some of these people, they may make a quick buck, but then in the end they don't feel satisfied because they never find their place. They're always looking for the next best thing. Amazon is going to be my first love. Okay. I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm not going anywhere. Rainbow is doing amazing. I'm very fortunate. But yet I am interested in other areas. But I'm not renouncing everything and jumping to this. And if NFT space was not something that I was interested in or I was excited about, I would drop it. Doesn't matter how much money it has, because I know I can pick up one thing, whether it's crocheting or whatever it is. And I know if I love it, and I know if I wake up every single day, I will always win because I will be the one still standing in the game. Where most people at the first, hint of anything tough, they give up. So when I started Rankbell like 7 8 years ago, I still have clients, Danny, now that are still with me all this time. They had started with a few $1,000s. Now they're doing 7 8 and higher figures. Of course, it's not all of them, but a few. And what I noticed that they do compared to all the other sellers are whenever there's a problem, they're not throwing in the towel. They find ways. They keep finding ways. They keep finding ways and they stay consistent. Do you think those people haven't had their account suspended or they haven't had problem with their logistics or we all go through all of these, literally all of us. There's not one person that says I dodged all the bullets, I made it on top and I'm amazing. No, we all go through these and these are all lessons that we encounter every single time that make us either grow or setback. So it's your willingness to be embarrassed at times, to really accept that you may not be the best all the time. However, showing up, getting the experience, you will become that expert that you're looking to be.
Yeah, and you said it there as well, which is part of consistency. We always talk about as entrepreneurs, you got to show up, right? What is showing up? It's being consistent. What is giving your word to someone? It's being consistent. And this is what I'm saying, when consistency can spread across your life in different areas. Like, what was his name? Jordan Peterson. He's always, he always start with making your bed.
Yeah.
For these people out there who are like who've got no goals in life, who are just sitting at home playing computer games with no purpose, trying to find their purpose. But it's true. It's the little things that count, because as you stack those little things and that leads to that consistency is where you really do, where the real work gets done, and the patience. I know Gary Vee talks about patience all the time, and we're not all patient, but sometimes it's a good lesson and a humbling experience to be patient, because when you set up a business, it takes 3 times longer and it costs you 3 times the amount of money. No matter what happens, whatever business plan you might as well wipe your ass on a business plan, because they never come out, right? So the fact is, if you're still in the game at the end of it, a part of your business plan, and you're doing well, you won. But you can spend months writing a business plan and fucking pointless, right on the back of a cigarette packet, and then get your head down, be consistent, and then you need to pivot and adjust along the way. But it still goes back to the point
And I
all the
want to
time.
one more thing.
Go on.
Sorry to interrupt you. Being humble. I've
Yeah,
learned a lesson in humility this past week,
go
and this
on.
is how it went for me. You want to hear?
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
I went to NFT New York. I was there for a full week. I really wanted to immerse myself deep with everything that I could and everyone that I could. And I am part of this like NFT girls group. And one of the ladies was like, "Hey, I need somebody to help me work a few hours of the event." And I'm like, I have now worked for pay. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody to actually pay me per hour. And of course, these people don't know who I am. I mean, it's completely new space. And I was like, let's do it. So I put on the outfit. I went to have fun. But it was very interesting, Danny, because it's different. It's like
Mm.
being able to step down sometimes, doesn't matter who you think you are. Your business may burn and crash and you may start at zero. So being able to go back from the position that you thought you were to something else. Luckily, my life isn't ruined or destroyed or anything where I need to go get a full-time job. However, working those hours, I felt like, holy cow, like I don't want to do this again. And trust me, it was the easiest thing. I had to look cute and
Mm.
talk to people and like tell them about this event. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, like the way people talk to you, the way they look at you is very different than when you're introduced as a business owner. And that's just the reality of it. But
Mm.
being able to be humble and have the humility to be just in normal environments where you can get paid per hour for certain things. And I looked at myself and I was like, will I be able to do this? And honestly, then I would do it anytime. I mean,
Mm.
you kind of know my life story a little bit, but I was cleaning homes. I was working at a restaurant. I was doing this. Of course, it's much nicer to chill and fly first class if you can afford to and not have to. However, there's few of us who are willing to drop everything and start everything from zero. And it was definitely a very good experience, but I don't know how many people would, Danny. I don't know how many people would, when they get to a certain level, to be like, you know what? Let me go back down here and see what's up. Because
Yeah.
it's like almost like your ego grows as your business grows or whatever your status in your mind, you think it grows. And then, being able to like be humble a little bit. I think it's
Well,
very
that goes back to my point as well. I always say, I've said this to you before, is that you have to be very careful because look, we do a podcast, we go and speak at events, da da da, all well and good, and you meet people, they go, "Hi, I know you from the podcast, amazing, great." Here's the reality: outside of Amazon, no one knows who you are, no one cares, no one cares.
that is
So
not
don't.
true, Daddy. That is not true.
No,
Everybody
no, no one cares.
all
Honestly,
goes
no
out.
one cares, and nor should they. Why should they? You're not fucking Drake or Rihanna. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like there's real status level people and stuff, the real famous people for what they do there. But we're service providers and sellers. We have to get a grip, right? And that's that's just why it's humbling, because you went over to NFT, whereas in this industry, they'll go, "Oh, yeah, it's Izabela, I'll get you a guest list, da da da." And then you'll go somewhere, you'll turn up somewhere and they go, "Who?" And no one knows and no one cares, because why? You haven't done the work yet. You haven't put it in yet. Like,
Exactly.
you haven't learnt the trade. You haven't gained the respect of others. You haven't shared information. You
I love
haven't built anything.
that. I love that.
So you should be humble.
Yeah, for
Do you
sure.
know what I mean? And this is why, otherwise, you know what? Forgetting all those parts as well, going back to the whole thing, could be talking about consistency. You go and start something new. You can't start, what got you here won't necessarily get you there. So if you do start in a new industry, what choice do you have? You can't make that phone call in your black book that you've built up 7-8 years and say, "Oh, can you hook me up with this?" It's ground zero.
You start from the bottom, and
It's
I
from the
love
bottom, and it should be that way.
it. Was so much fun, Danny. It was so much fun because, like you said, like people didn't, know me. I mean, I know some people now in the NFT space because I've been in it a little bit, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It would be impossible for you to meet. Amazon is very small, Danny.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh,
very
it is.
small compared to the world. So, being there, I started back from the beginning. How I was thinking, how do I get people to know me? What's the best way for people to know you? To be in the middle of like the biggest events. And like you said, so what I did, I talked to that girl because I knew she was gonna get me in to the most exclusive event, right? Like literally the most exclusive. I was
Yeah.
working, but I got in and I
Yeah.
got to meet everyone. I wasn't, too fancy enough to like put on an outfit and work because I knew the people I was going to meet there are going to, be somebody that I want to be connected with. And now, not only that, but now that girl knows she can count on me. She knows that she can make the right introductions for me. But I was willing to put in the work. I was willing to show up where everybody else was having fun. I was this like exclusive event. I mean, it was fun because I don't do things that I don't like. However, I could have chose to be with my friends that night and have a good night and go to, have a nice dinner in New York. But I showed up, I put in the work. I don't know how many hours I worked, 5, 6, 7. But it was great again, because what do you do in a new space? You learn, you find out the ways, you find out the people, you find out who's who and offer them help. Literally, that's all I did. Then I didn't go to this girl and be like, "Oh, I'm Rank Bell." Like, okay. I'm like,
Who
how
cares? Yeah.
what can I do to help?
Yeah.
Literally, what can I do to help? Put me anywhere. And people don't want to do that, Benny.
No.
Don't want to do that. They want to hold on to this, title that they gave themselves and are not willing to try anything else. And I'm not that. I will do it all over again and again.
Well, it's about what I like about you, always curious. Like, we can have conversations about things, and someone else, we could have the same conversation could trigger, or because it could be like a sensitive subject that you'd have a conversation at. But what I noticed with you, you're curious. Like you want to understand perspectives on both sides of things. So when I learn about new stuff, I start with looking at the extremes of either end. Okay, so where's the dance taking place? What is the battle here? Look at the real extreme on that end, the real extreme on the opposite end, and then what you're going to do is you find your objective truth somewhere around the middle. And that's a great way of learning, because you've got to understand people in order to learn new things. Or because if you shut off to that, like you said, if someone doesn't take a step down from their own self-designated status, how are they going to get on to the next time? What happens if their business crashes? How can they reformulate everything that they do? One of my biggest lessons, and I've said it on the show before, I'll just make it quick. My biggest humbling experience was from the music industry, from the top to the bottom. Now, I was only in the dance end of things, not on the pop, not on the charts or anything. But when you're getting paid thousands to go around the world and DJ, right? So I remember my last gig, I think it was in LA, 2,000 people, a few grand for the gig. I'm dropping dub plates, my own tracks. Got off the plane with jet lag, tour's over, LimeWire kicked in, knew that was going to be pretty much it. I was working at Ford's for 80 pound a day under trailers in the pissing down rain fixing trailers. So you go from up here to down here. Like, that's not a bad job to be at Ford's doing that. I'm not saying that, but where you were to there is like an almighty crash. And so it's a very humbling experience. And then what you do is you carry that on, like, you don't take anything for granted, and goes back to the point of being consistent. So I know that if I don't carry on what I'm doing and be consistent with it, tomorrow it could be gone. Someone steps up, and there's always someone willing to work hard in you and be more consistent than you. So this is why I always say, get up every day, pay the rent, be consistent, get it done. All of these little terms that people laugh at me with my Insta stories, with the training and the group of people that we kind of account to each other for, and I know you get to the point people go, fucking hell, is he still posted? This is since COVID. But that was the consistency of going back 2 years. And then I can look back on how far that journey's come to here. And then you do it in other areas of your life as well. But let's go over some bits where it's hard to be consistent again. Let's talk about some of the things where you're shit at consistency at. Because we've all got flaws, right? So I don't want to sell this show to people as if like, right, you've got to be consistent at everything that you do. And if you don't, you're a fuckery.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's about picking and choosing what you need to have, 2 or 3 things that you can master at, be consistent at, right? And they've got to be important.
I think that's so right, because you're right. You cannot be consistent at everything, which is why it's so important to pick the things that you like. Like, what is important in my life? Okay, my kids, my family. What are some things that I need to be consistent with? I'm not always home. I'm gone a lot, but one thing that I'm consistent with, I'm always here for my kid. Like, I work from home, so I make sure that I get enough time with him per day, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, or just like hold him or play. He'll come into my room sometimes and be like, Mom, you need to take a break. Let's play.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I'm consistent with. I will always be consistent in finding new ways to develop myself and help those around me. Always. It's just a passion. Mindset is my thing. I could literally talk about this all day. I'm fired up anytime I have this kind of conversation. So there are things, but it comes with experience. You're not going to know what you like, but you will know once you start doing them. And some of the things that you're going to love doing, you're going to be hating in the beginning. So you need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself time to figure out what that is for you. Because if you start going to the gym and you completely hate it, you may be the next bodybuilder, but you don't know, because you haven't given yourself enough time.
Well, you talk about the gym. This is my take on it. I like the rewards and the side effects of health, but I don't necessarily enjoy the training that much. So if I sat down, I train 5-6 days a week, right? If I sat down and said, how do I feel today? Do I feel like training? The answer is nearly no every single time. And I sit there, and in my head, I say this, like, all right, I've got to train today. How do I feel? Oh, I don't know, I'm a bit tired. It's going around in the monkey brain, right? And then I say to myself, my David Goggins kicks in, and it says, fuck your feelings, get in the gym. And you go, and then you feel better after. And that's literally every single time. So there are certain things that you do. I am consistent at that because I know the benefits from it. And when you go to the gym, you don't see the benefits straight away after the session. It's like if you bake a cake, the cake's finished at the end, you get the result, right? You take a picture of it, you eat it, it's job done. You completed that task. But when you go to the gym, you got to go, in 18 months, 2 years, that's where I want to be. And so you don't see nothing. You see nothing. No movement. Weeks go past. Months go past. You slide a little. You slip and slide. No gains. No changes. And just on and on and on. Unless you track your progress, you really could drive yourself mad. But that's one of my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
The gym is a non-negotiable for me.
This is one thing that if you are consistent in one thing, and you can just start with that, like you said, just the gym, what happens is these skills that you have now developed of being consistent will eventually transfer to other areas in your life,
Mm.
unbeknownst to you.
Yeah.
Literally, you
Yeah.
won't even know. You keep showing up to the gym, even though all part of you saying no, don't do it.
Mm.
Yet you fight through that, and every time you fight through that, you work that muscle. You just like going to the gym, you work that muscle of showing up, and next thing you know, you're going to apply that in business, you're going to apply that in other areas in your life. So these are some things that I look at in people, like how consistent is this person? Are they jumping from place to place to place to place? Trust me, again, when I got into the NFT space, everything, Danny, it's like Candyland, right? It's
Mm.
think of it as like blue ocean. Literally any business idea you can think of, I believe, if you apply yourself, you can create. This is
Mm.
like the beginning of the internet now. So I
Yeah.
see people going into this, and this week they're like, you know what, I'm doing this, and next week they're doing this, and they're not consistent. So in my case, for NFtomic, what I wanted to do, I was like, okay, the big vision was, how do I help more Amazon sellers?
Yeah.
I'm doing this. Some of the things that I thought about a year ago, gone
Mm.
because they're not it yet. I'm still zoning in, but I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. But other people would have been like, this doesn't work. Let me jump to, I don't know, gold now. Let me jump to forex. Let me jump to this. Those are the people that don't find peace within themselves. And then they say, I'm so unlucky. Nothing works for me. Nothing works for you because you're not willing to put in.
But you know, on the flip side of that, like, I would say I agree. Majority do that, but have you ever gone? Because I've gone through it as well. Even to get to the stage of finding Amazon, it took me 2 or 3 years. Like, I'd done the music industry, went into the wilderness, went into startups, went into the wilderness, went into marketplaces, landed on Amazon. So I did try loads of things that didn't work. So there is that aspect of like, where's the pocket? Where do I feel the best? You know, like what? Like, I still remember the date, March 31st, 2015. I discovered Amazon FBA. It's been
But
a
did
game
you,
changer.
how much time did you give to each of these
So
niche?
there was what I did decide to do after we lost 500,000 on a startup that no one wanted and got crucified on TechCrunch, um, saying it was a system that it was all for everyone but nothing for nobody kind of thing. So we got obliterated there. We spent a year and a half in stealth mode building a piece of shit that no one wanted and spent a fortune. So what I learned from that was the biggest thing is like, how do you rapidly build a business, like a service-based business, really quickly and get that feedback loop? So obviously I've read Eric Rice's The Lean Startup book as well. And so I think I went through 5 or 6 different niches for service-based companies, but were mainly in the in areas of day-to-day construction areas. So we run a resin flooring company that does for office buildings and people's driveways. We done the guys that do the masticing that goes around site, does all the baths around there and do all the silla for that. We done compressed air. There was loads of them. The one I did for the longest period of time was French polishing. Like, no one wants to do French polishing, and it's so super niche. We just literally dominated Google, and I turned that into a 6-figure business in the first year. But the point I was going to get to there is that it allowed me to quickly test stuff. So there was a few of these things, like the mastic one didn't work out. What we did was we built a landing page, right? Added a phone number with a tracking number, put all the images up and stuff like that. Couldn't put testimonials because we didn't have any, but we put it out there as a service, run it out there on Google Ads, and then if we see if we got any phone calls, and then when you got the phone calls, you'd ask questions and you can iterate. Right? Is this going to be worthwhile? How many calls can we get a week if we can convert 20% of these calls? Da, da, da. And so that was a really quick way of starting something and then moving on to the next one. But that's what I did for a period of time. I had one strong one going, which was the polishing company, and then the rest were try that, didn't work, try that, didn't work, try that, didn't work. And then it wasn't until I thought, well, I've done commerce, I've done ticketing, I've done music industry, done startups. Let's have a look at the marketplace aspect. And originally I started out on, was it the Fleabay, I called it, which is eBay, the flea market. So started there, grabbed a load of stuff around the house, took a load of pictures in the garden, was fucking clueless of what I was doing. Walked to the end of the road to go to the post office. Works out the post office is closed down 2 years ago. Didn't realise that. And I don't drive. So I thought I'll be fucked if I'm getting on the bus every day. So I come back to the house with all this toot on me. And I went back onto the eBay forum. And then it went, have you tried Amazon FBA? I went, what's that? Click through. And it was like, bang. That was it. That was it for me. And here we are today, 7 years later. And so going back to your point is that sometimes you have to find your thing. But I do agree with you. A lot of people do bounce because of the chasing of the money, not necessarily finding the purpose that they can settle with, where they think they can do as they've got the skill set they can develop to someday be good at that certain thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it's listen, I'm all for trying out a million different things. But are you giving yourself enough time? Like, are you just giving it a few days? You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like, did you actually put in the time? Like, you actually went to the post office, you notice it was closed. You're like, okay, what are my options here? This is not going to work. It's just logistically.
I'm not getting the bus every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just not something that makes me happy, right?
Yeah.
You don't wake up excited. So, but what does? So you may be able to, okay, listen, changes come when you're in motion. A lot of people say, oh, you know what, Isabel, I really love what you do, but I don't know, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
What are you waiting to be ready for? Like, what the actual fuck? Like, what are you waiting for? Like, oh, you think you're going to take a shower one day and some genius idea is going to come to you?
Yeah.
Maybe 1 in 100 million people. I doubt it. And maybe, I don't know what the data is on that. However, it's not going to come to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you right now, if you listen to this and you've been thinking about doing something, you better start now. Because when you're in motion, and it doesn't matter what it is. And I know, because I had this before. It's like, what do I want to do? I don't know what I want to do, so I'm not going to do it. It will come to me. No. What's the simplest thing you can do? Whether it's you being in front of a camera all day doing videos of yourself. Like, Gary Vee is very big on content. He says, you put on content, you will make money.
Yeah.
If it's just you showing up on your phone and
eventually, if you're patient and you know who your audience is and you do it for the right reasons.
But that's the thing. You might not even know why you're doing it, but just keep doing it. Say, you know what? I'm giving myself 60 days. Every single day, I'm going to do this one thing. And then what happens is then you might hate it, you might not, but you're doing it to build resistance and endurance. And then next thing you know, day 30, you're like, I just had an idea. That's how ideas come, because you keep doing that one thing. You're going to spin off into something that will actually be the thing, but it's not going to come to you if you are static.
Yeah, agree. Okay, have we covered everything? Is there stuff you want to talk about?
What can I talk about, Danny? I mean, life is good, Life is good. Life is tiring. It goes by really fast, way faster than any of us ever want. And there's so many exciting things in a place. What a great time to learn. We kind of escaped COVID in a way. A lot of people got COVID in New York. I don't think I did. But what are some things that you want to do right now while you're young?
Yeah.
They don't always have to involve money. Like, what is one thing that you've always wanted to do? Maybe you want to, like, if you work, like, take off a day from work and be with your kids and literally do nothing. If you've been dreaming about binge watching Netflix, just like your friends do for one day, but you haven't given yourself permission to do that. Like, this is the time right now, Danny. Like,
that's what you do. You're talking about time. What is something that is free, highly valuable, but gets wasted all the time?
Time.
People's time. Well, it's a free commodity. You can give your time freely. It's something that you can never get back. Never. We don't have a time machine to go back. But some people don't treat it as a premium. I've learned that in the last few years, is to how much I value my time being close to 47. Because whilst I feel like the clock's ticking and stuff like that, and I'm middle-aged and some, right? Because what is middle-aged? 45? Yeah, expected for men to live to 90. So yeah, so I really value my time. So I really value where it goes. Like I always said, is that your time and attention is a premium, and it should go where it's respected. And you need to respect that time yourself, because again, it doesn't come back. But then there's no point in being consistent in binge watching, say, Netflix every night when you could be consistent in doing something else. Because, we come in this world with nothing, we leave with nothing. And the only thing they talk about at your funeral is your character. So it's so important with the time that you have in between that is what you do with that time. Yeah. Do you want to make a dent in the universe? Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to go unnoticed? That's cool, whatever you want to do. But you've got to work out what do you want to do with that time,
Yeah.
and have some sort of plan, even if the plan doesn't work out, because it'd be a waste of biology to put you down on this planet against the odds of billions of a human being created. I think that's something like that, kind of 6 billion to 1 of the odds. That's what you got. So we can't waste our time. So again, goes back to your consistency. Where do you put your consistency? Because you've got to invest the patience, which takes time. Yeah. And to get better at something, to learn a skill, 10,000 hours. Again, it's time. So these are really important decisions that people make, but very rarely do they recognize that their time is probably one of their most valuable commodities.
It is the most. And I think, I think one thing that's important to mention, Danny, is be kind. Like,
Yeah.
be fucking
That's free.
yeah, listen
That's
to
not
this.
cool.
When I go to the New York airport to JFK yesterday, and I get in line. I have a TSA pre-check, and there were two lines. So I wasn't sure, there was no sign. So I just asked the question, to people. I don't even know who was going to answer. I said, "Is this TSA?" And this lady just turns to me, "This is all of this is TSA. This
Mm.
is, you mean TSA pre-check?" I said, "You knew what I meant." I said, "You don't got to be rude." And I called her out. She felt so bad, but in a kind way. If you show up at work every single day, you have to put in that time. Why do you have to show everybody else that you hate your job?
Mm.
Like, if you got to show up every single day and this job puts food on your table for you and your kids, you're going to be there for 10 hours. Be kind, because what that's going to do then is going to make you feel better about yourself. You're going to have different interactions with people. You don't got to show every single person that comes to you that you hate your life. I
Mm.
don't This is one pet peeve of mine, Danny. I told you, I've done many different jobs. I always showed up with a smile on my face. Why? Because I gotta fucking be there anyway. I
Mm.
don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like if I show you that I'm angry in my job, somehow it's gonna be better. No, I'm upsetting myself. I'm upsetting you, and then everybody's fucked for the rest of the day.
Well, it's where people are projecting, and from that is their, why are they being unkind? Because someone's been unkind to them, maybe, right? Their life's that way because they've had a set of treatment, so they project onto you. So that's why they say, hurt people, healed people, heal people. And a lot of that also comes down to is taking a good look at yourself and being self-aware
Yep.
instead of a victim or whatever. Because if you hate your job, yeah, you're caught in a rock between a hard place. It's difficult, right? But you can be consistent on getting home and doing something that leads to a better job,
Yeah.
rather than sit there and play the victim. You can have your little pity party. Everyone gets that option, but you can't do it every day. And you can't because you know what? If you've got a victim mentality, unfortunately, you are robbing yourself of your whole life. There's a whole world out there.
100%.
Yeah. And if you are unhappy and you are taking it out on other people, they're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. So then you're the change you wish to see. You need to do that work.
Yeah.
Getting fucking deep now, aren't we?
No, but I think it's so important because people, like, there's such little things that we don't think about. And I
Mm.
notice that as I'm getting older, as I'm getting more experienced, there are things that I thought were just normal, but they're not. Like, smiling when you come to your job. I understand everybody, it's tough out there. It's tough,
I
but
never smile though. People think I'm a miserable sod. I'm happy, but people think I'm
you
miserable.
don't have to necessarily smile. Maybe I put it the wrong way, but like,
Mm.
you're there, like, just be the best. Like, if you have the option to be kind or not, just be kind. It's gonna make you feel so much better. Like, I don't understand how some people just start. I get it. Sometimes we have bad days, but like, you can turn your day around by being there, being kind, and being open to love and support it, and all of this. And I don't know if it's just me preaching love or anything, but it doesn't feel good. Like when I compliment somebody and I see their smile and I make their day better, like I'm never going to see them again, but I know somehow I impacted them and they impacted me. it,
Mm.
Always choose that option, guys. Always
Yeah.
choose that option. If you can be kind, always choose that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Be consistent. Be consistent with kindness.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of takeaways there. So here's to 1,000.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Should we
We
sign off?
might have to do 2 shows a day, Danny, I think, to catch up.
Well, no. By the end of the year, if you think about it, we're halfway through. 4 shows a week. What's that? 200 plus shows a year. We're gonna by Christmas we'll hit the 1,000 anyway.
Okay, and if we don't, let's add some more. So we have a
We'll,
celebration.
we'll have a little party.
Yeah.
December 3rd. A little pitch there. Look.
In London, why don't you do it somewhere exotic, Danny? Who wants to travel in cold weather?
Who wants to go to London? It's a shithole, I know. But no, but people have to live there. So, but people do.
Get it.
People do come over. I've got 35 tickets left, so we've shifted most of them anyway.
I think we should start a petition who wants to go to Mexico instead.
Mexico at Christmas,
Yeah.
right in the middle of Q4.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably the January's probably a better one.
I go to London. Listen, we were supposed to do this live, Danny, but let's talk about it. I think we should do some type of contest, like whoever wants to go to London for Christmas party, or they want to go to Cancun for a Christmas party, and we'll see.
I'd have to have a chat with the sponsors. We'd have to up the sponsorship in order to make that happen.
Let the people speak, Daddy. Let them speak.
Cool. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the support all over the years that you've been with us. I know that people, new people come into the industry and stuff, and I don't expect everyone to listen from 001. Please don't. Anyway, because it's too far back. It will all be out of date. And
you're just saying that because you want people to listen to your first shitty episodes.
No. I should keep my mouth shut, shouldn't I? If I keep going on about it, it's like reverse psychology. Everyone goes, "Yeah, let's have a listen to how shit Dan was."
No. They can go back to mine and listen to how shitty it was, and I have no problem.
Well, look, like you said you made it sound bigger than what it is about feedback. But I said to both you and Sharon, like, Sharon's different because she's got the YouTube channel, so she does the YouTube way of things, and then this is the podcast way of things. So slight adjustments. This was kind of new to you. And I said, you have to find your voice, don't you? So you end up having a few shows. It's like when you first speak in events, right? It's like when I first started DJing at events, I was clanging everywhere, right? Because I was nervous. But then you get to a point where you get better. You get used to the environment and stuff like that. And again, you get better over time, don't you? And that's the key part of it. But yeah, I think you handled that quite well early doors. We had a few tears and tantrums, but no, we didn't. I'm joking. It was fun.
Always fun, Danny. No, thank you for setting up the platform for everybody to listen. I mean, this is your time, and time is valuable. This is my time. Time is valuable.
And it's worth it. That's the thing. Is you invested the time in it. It's worth it to me. Like everything we've built in and around over the years, Seller Sessions Live, Branded by Women, the awards, getting out on the road and meeting people, meeting sellers, new business opportunities, doing something that you enjoy, having great conversations. And again, goes back to the consistency thing. There's a lot of times when I go, oh, shit, got to do the podcast. Shit, what have we got to get on this week? Right? So you got to think where you're going to get the content from, And then you do it and you're like, yes. You still enjoy it. I still love it. 900 episodes later, obviously you and Sharon's done a couple of hundred at least between you. I've done 700, and I'm not giving up yet because I still enjoy spending time with people.
Yeah.
But the lead up to it, it's like, oh shit, got the podcast today, right? Okay, book meetings around that. So you have to make time, and you got to be consistent. And there are times that where you can sit there and go, oh, I just do 2 extra next week. But you never will. And then you fall off the consistency. That's always in the monkey brain. So.
I'm guilty of that, not with the podcast, but everything else. If I know, and I think that's what helped me with this podcast. And, I have you to thank for knowing that every Monday, 8 a.m., I have to show up.
Click, showtime. Yeah.
What that does, it helps me be consistent in other places. Again, I don't always want to show up like
Mm.
from the club in Miami trying to get on podcast. However, I I made a commitment. I'm consistent and I keep showing up. And it's not always easy, Danny. It's not always
No,
easy.
it's not, and this is why we still do the lives. I mean, peak COVID, we'd get a lot more people simultaneously watching. Right? It's a lot less now because not everyone's sitting at home. But the main audience is on the podcast. The only reason we still keep going with Facebook and everything else is because of that consistency, right? We all know is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everyone plays their position. If we weren't having that structure, Sharon might go, "Oh, I'll send you the show, and we just put out the audio," and you go, "Oh, and it could get all messy, and then the days get muddled up." At least this way, it just keeps it consistent. Even though there's less audience on the Facebook and on YouTube now compared to peak COVID, but that doesn't matter because all the audience has always been is on the
And
podcast because it's more passive listening. Yeah.
it didn't matter anyway. If somebody's to start a podcast today or something, you will have one person show up or
Mm.
no or none. You will have YouTube videos that nobody's even watching, but you're doing it for you. You're doing it for consistency because that's when
Yeah.
a lot of people they start playing with their mind. They're like, "Oh my god, nobody listening to me. I'm the worst. You know what? I'm just not gonna do it anymore." And I talked to a
Yeah.
lot of my YouTuber friends that have made it really far, and they said, "Izabela, like the first year or two or three or four,
Yeah.
I had no followers. I had nobody opening my videos, yet they never stopped. Like, that's admirable to me. That
Yeah.
is admirable to me. And they deserve all the money that they got. And I know not everybody, once you make it to that level, then you start having people who love you and people who don't love you. And
Mm.
that's normal. And you will get that. Just like, we have it. Like, I always say to myself, what other think of me is none of my business. And you have
Yeah.
to have the mentality. If you think about it, if having a YouTube channel it's something that you've been thinking about, just do it and you're
Yeah.
gonna get maybe a year with no people showing up.
Well, when I always sit down because people come to me and say, "Well, what do I do for the podcast?" I spend an hour with them. I tell them absolutely everything. Nothing's off the table, and I tell them exactly what to do. And I think that's the toughest part for people is that it normally, you normally find that year one, forget it. Year two, you get a bit of an audience starts to grow, and people feedback, and it starts to little groundswell. And then really, it's year three where it kind of, if it's going to take off, it takes off then.
Right.
So you have to dedicate 3 years. So if you're doing a weekly show, 52 weeks a year, straight away you're in 150 episodes plus, right? If give or take some holidays. But if you do 2 shows a week, you might get there a bit quicker, right? If you do 3, you might get there a little bit more quicker. And it depends on how much time you're willing. Are you going to put in the upfront time and be consistent there, or are you putting in the time over the long term?
Yep.
Yeah, comes down to a choice. But yeah, it takes 2 or 3 years to get anything like that rolling. Generally, very rarely does it. Because there's no such thing really as overnight success. People talk about it, but there's that 10 years that no one see. They only see the finished product.
Exactly. And then they call you lucky.
Then they call you lucky for turning up every day for 3 years. Yeah. Cool.
They say you're so lucky, Isabel. And I said, yes, I am. Thank you very
Yeah. Them 8 years a week have made me very, very lucky. Yeah. Cool.
much.
All right. Let's sign off then. Guys, thank you for joining us today. I'll be back here tomorrow with an in-depth with Yoni Mazur. Very interesting story, how he built his fortune as of today from the military. Again, discipline, what he learned from the military has helped him a lot on getting ready as an entrepreneur. So, Izabela, you'll be back next week. Should we sign off?
Of course.
All right. Lots of love, guys. Thank
Thank
you so much for the support. Take care.